Today's a good day to talk about Tivat in Montenegro. It's a little town with less than 10,000 people there. It is a tourist magnet. A lot of tourists go there, but not all tourists are the same. And we're going to talk about that, how this little town that used to be less than 10,000 all of a sudden just saw a rise in a lot of foreign investment, and it just became so fancy, a bit too fancy actually, that then it just became unaffordable. But a lot of people still go there. You've got the beach, and you have the what's it called, Saljanova Beach, which is just you've got it's a nice place. It's small. The beach line, you don't get. It's not like in the tropical countries. But anyway, the beach line is nice. So it just stretches there. You walk along. You're not too far from your hotel. You're not too far from the stores. You're not too far from the Marina de Porto Montenegro. Montenegro. Anyway, you get the point. It just seems really nice. And then you've got like you can go to the cafes, there's a market, you've got supermarkets there. It's just really convenient, and a lot of people love it just for that. Yes, so when you think about the whole area of Tivat and how it got there, you need to really think about some of the interesting things, how all of a sudden it used to be just a small little town, and now you get about over 1 million people visiting the area, and it is said to be one of the best kept secrets in Europe. Okay, that's Eastern Europe, very close. Montenegro is very close to, it's north of Albania, and then you go down, you get to Greece and all these other places. Anyway, so it is one of those things where during the summer months between May and September, a lot of people just flock in there. And then during the winter, everyone's like, well, ciao, see you later. I'm going to Thailand, or I'm going to Cambodia. Basically, people go where they follow the sun. It's just like the former British Empire. Anyway, so let's talk about why this is an interesting place. First of all, how did it get here? It's got a long story, but the short form of the story is that some billionaire went there and said, "Ooh, this place is nice. Look at the landscape is beautiful, and the water. Oh, this is great. Maybe, we used to go to Saint-Tropez and leave our yacht there, but it's becoming too expensive. So predictable. Let me go and invest in Tivat." And so the billionaire came along and invited some of his other rich friends, and said they all came and started to invest in the area for tourism, but mostly as a sort of a playground for the rich and famous. So they purchased land, and I'm talking, when they say, they say purchasing land, it's not like they purchased like a little a lot. No, they huge location, and then they built this massive marina that's now called the Porto Montenegro. But okay, that's it. Let's not exaggerate as if they built everything out of nothing. So the port itself was a military port base in the good old days when Yugoslavia still had a navy and it was one country. And then, then the Russians came and other people came, and it was cool. But then, like most things, when you no longer have a functioning country, some of these locations are abandoned. And then because you don't have any local investors, it takes foreign investors with a bit of idea or vision for what he wants the place to look like, and then they just said, well, if you want it, you can have it. Well, he paid for it, and then they started to build a port, and the marina is absolutely gorgeous. It is amazing, and they were trying to compete with Monaco for the simple reason that they started with over 400 berths, and then they're going to increase it, and they built, like everything else, when you have a fancy marina, you need to have fancy homes, and they started to design that, and they also built shops and fine dining, fancy hotels and everything, and that was cool. So, and that started in 2007. So fast forward over a decade later, the place is just nice. And guess what? It's so nice that locals can no longer afford anything there. But the good thing is that it created jobs, because then someone needs to look at security, clean the boats, do whatever they need to do. You know what people do in marinas? All those places, they built that. And of course, when they did that, just to give you a little history, is that Tivat area has a bunch of people who are Catholics, Eastern Orthodox Church, and then you have Catholics. And the reason they have Catholics was that in the good old days, people from Italy came from Venice, basically, and they came over there and they brought their religion and their way of life to Tibet. And then you have Muslims because, well, you have the Ottoman Empire also influencing the area. All along the coast of the Adriatic Sea, you get that sort of influence from mainland Europe, from the Ottoman Empire, basically a lot of history, and that influences a lot of the things you see. But people have said, what can you do in Tivat? Well, you go to the beach, you walk around the port, Proton Montenegro, you do all those cool tourist stuff, and that it's great. And but that's one of the amazing things is that it's so small. But people are saying you don't want to come here for more than a couple of days. That's it. You spend a day or two. That's it. You've seen everything there is to see. If you want to go to something, if you want a bigger location, you probably go to the Bay of. No, you go to Koto, which is another one, and so you can see more things. And I think this is a good thing about Montenegro that it's small enough. You need a car if you need to get around. Public transport is good, but it's not, that great, especially if you want to manage your own time. But then it costs you more, so you have that. Anyway, now let's talk about some of the mistakes. I don't think it's a mistake, but it's just one of those things when you don't have enough money and local investors, where the local investors do not have enough money to invest in anything for the future, it becomes a problem. And once it becomes a problem, you can't really fix it. Let's talk about that. So they've built, big investors have built things here, and those who had money started also to invest in the area for tourism. And tourism brings in a lot of money. Now, this is where it becomes a problem. Everything is becoming more expensive. For example, around the area, if you go to the tourist area, the food alone would cost you almost 50% more than in other areas of the town. You see, that is not good. And then the taxis now are saying if they see tourists, they try to scam them, which is not good, or they would charge you some insane amount for short rides. But of course, if you don't understand what's going on, it gets lost in translation, and sometimes you don't want the hassle of having an argument with them, so you just say, okay, never mind, pay, and just tell them to leave. Okay, you have that, and then some people have said, well, not everyone is nice here. Some people, they just like in the tourism area, people working there, they come with an attitude. You think, what did I do? I'm just here to spend my euros, leave me alone, or my dollars. And they're like, well, I'm having a bad day. I've been working all day, leave me alone. So you get that. So that is something people complain about. Even locals sometimes complain about that. And there are a lot of animals, cats especially. It almost feels like the epidemic. I wouldn't say epidemic. The dogs that you see in Istanbul, they're just everywhere, and so cats are the equivalent of dogs in Istanbul. Anyway, in Tivat, you get a lot of those. And now there's something else. I don't know how true this is. It is said that the airport is just it's small and chaotic. And it just seems that it just felt as if it's not efficient, polished enough. Long queues, people don't know where to go, and it's just a little bit chaotic. So those are the little things that people are like, oh, I wish they could just fix that. If they fix that, it could be better. So I think it's a mistake sometimes where a lot of the big investment comes in, but the investment mistake doesn't take into account infrastructure and training people and making sure everything is nice, so that you even if the port is there, you need to think about how you get people from the port to other part of the city to the airport to the hotels and things like that. If you don't put in a very comprehensive solution, you get one part that's functioning and then the other part is not great. And then also people complain about some of the beaches are really dirty. That's not good if you want tourism and people come in to enjoy the sunshine and summer. So that is not good. And then public toilets, well, not even think about that. What is wrong with public toilets in most major cities? I don't think public toilets should be free. I think they should be available at every location, but I think people should be made to pay just a little change and then have someone constantly cleaning. I think that would be good because for whatever reason, public toilets, when it's free and it's not, you don't have a manned toilet, it's always disgusting. So others have complained that you go to some places, it's nice and quiet, and then you at the bar, and then they put on music, pollution, noise pollution, basically a lot of noise, people dancing, or the bar thinking the louder the music, the more they can get people to come in. But apparently that is not often the case. So that is another thing people complain about and people are not happy about. So yeah, it is a little place that is worth visiting. It is nice, it's cozy, it's got beautiful marinas and beaches, but it's just that, like everything else, it's not perfect. There are little things, especially when it comes to tourism and dealing with tourism and the infrastructure linked to that. It can be improved. But anyway, it is still a little place you go, spend a day or maximum two, and then you leave and visit other part of the country.